Hey guys, welcome. Today is your first video for government, and it's an introduction lesson to government and its four purposes. Now, this is not a deep dive into government. This is a short, quick little look at the four purposes of government and what government is. Can't go much farther if we don't know these things, right? So it's important that we follow along. All right, gonna keep the theory kind of on the low end. This is just informational today. All right, so what is government? Government may be Congress, maybe the government of the United States, the president, who knows? Right? Maybe it's other people that have governments and maybe we don't. Maybe you don't believe in our government. I don't know. All right? Maybe it's our military. Maybe military is what our government is, and maybe it's a military force that takes over. Now, you may think that's odd, but in some parts of the world, that's what happens. Maybe it's just taxes. The government's responsible for taxes. That's all the only thing they're about. Taxes. Come on. All right? Next. All right, maybe it's the police, maybe it's the police state, or quote, the man, end quote. Maybe that's what government is to you, and that's an important thing to think about. Finally, maybe it's the Obama phone or something else that you get because of the government. Who knows? It's kind of like open-ended here, what government means to you. All right, but the one thing I know for sure that government is government is a class you need to take to graduate. It has to happen. So bear with me. Thanks. All right. Government is 6 different definitions of government here. The group of people who control and make decisions for a country, state, etc., and a particular system used for controlling a country, state, etc. Right? Merriam-Webster gave us that one. Is the system by which a state or community is governed, the existence of which is made possible by taxation. Thanks, Wikipedia. All right? A group that exercises sovereign authority over a nation, state, society, or other body of people. Governments are generally responsible for making and enforcing laws, managing currency, and protecting the populace from external threats. It may have other duties or privileges. Governments also typically set tax rates and may regulate investment practices as well. Investopedia. Government is the institution through which the state maintains social order, provides public services, and enforces decisions that are binding on all people living within the state. That's from your textbook, Democracy in Action. It's defined as institutions and processes that make and implement authoritative decisions for society from a textbook called American Government. And finally, from iCivics.com, the organization inside a state that controls the actions and policies of the state. All right, I say state here. I want to make sure that you guys realize that when we go over the definition of state, it's going to be more than just like Indiana or Michigan or Ohio or Illinois. It's going to be a country, and we'll get there. Our working definition that we need one solid definition for government, is the system in which a state, again, country or state or county or city or township, whatever it might be, enacts and enforces the policies that has created to maintain social and economic order. Right? So we want to maintain 2 things, social and economic order. But that's not really the purpose of government unless we really kind of make these deep connections today. All right? The system in which a state enacts and enforces the policies that it has created to maintain social and economic order is the definition that we are going to use for our government classes. And it's important that we realize that these are the things that we're going to be doing. All right? Government has 4 roles, 4 main roles. Right? There are 4 things that every government must provide for its citizenry. First, they must make laws for the citizens. Now they can give the citizens a right and say into those laws like we have in the United States, right? Or they cannot. It depends on where you live. All right? They can enforce laws. Again, that's one of those things. Maybe you have certain rights and such towards enforcement, or maybe you don't. It kind of depends on who you are, where you live, right? They protect the state. They provide protection for the country, and they provide goods and services for the people of that country. First and foremost, making the laws. The government, through a legislative body, in some places it's just the person sitting on the throne, write and pass laws. All right? So they make these laws. They make it so that the laws are set in place and the laws happen. Laws are set to govern the land and the people of the nation. All right? So really, really straightforward on that. All right? It's there. I want to ask you guys, we've gone through some pretty heinous laws in our society. There's a bunch of dumb laws out there that are still on the books. Like in Michigan, a woman can't get a haircut without a man's permission. And we went through that whole segregation period where we said, oh, yeah, people are different based on the color of their skin there, and some people are not the same as others. All right, which not everybody's the same, but come on, we all have basic characteristics that are similar, and that, there's no need to segregate. So is it acceptable for us to break the law? When and where can we break the law? And I want you guys to think about this and talk about it. We'll do a think, pair, share for this real quick, and then we'll come back together as a whole class and talk about it. All right? So give you a moment. If you're at home, pause. All right. So after we did that, I I want to talk about the next role of government, and that's enforcing laws. If government's passing laws, then it also has to enforce it. If they don't enforce the laws that they pass, the laws are meaningless, right? If you can't go outside of your house on a Saturday, and yet everybody's at the mall on Saturday, the law's not valid, right? It's kind of like if there's a law, a good example might be a truancy law. I know South Bend is having issues with enforcing truancy. I know that other areas probably have issues with enforcing truancy, right? Why is there a law if it's not going to be enforced? If laws are not enforced with no punishment, then the laws serve no purpose, and that's an important thing to remember, right? What are some things that can result in you breaking the law? What are some things that you do? What's some things that you have to do, right? How are laws enforced? Think about that. We'll come back to it. All right, so after we talked about that, now the next one is protecting the state. The government has an obligation to protect its citizens, right? It really does. If citizens are not protected, citizens will not support the government. I mean, if I'm in a feudal kingdom and people keep coming over the walls and stealing my sheep and my chickens, I'm not going to stay in that kingdom. I'm going to go say, hey, you guys keep stealing my sheep and chickens. Do you need one more person? Right? Or I'm going to be upset with the king, or I'm going to be upset somewhere along the lines. It's not going to be good for me or for them. So it's important that we realize that the government has the obligation to protect us. So how important is the military to us? Think about the United States history. How important is the military? How many times have we been attacked in the United States? Let's talk about it. How important is the military? All right, thanks for talking about it. All right, up next, we want to provide public goods and services for our people. All right, government will provide basic goods and services for the populace. What it comes down to, right? Whether it be welfare assistance, whether it be Medicare or Medicaid, whatever it might be, it's something that's being provided. It could be the United States Postal Service, for crying out loud, all right? Or the subsidized train travel that we have on Amtrak, right? All of these things are existent because the government provides them for us. And that's an important thing for us to remember. It moves beyond financial assistance and other important programs. Right? So the government supports things like Amber Alerts. The government supports things like the Obama phones, right? These things are not basic, but they are definitely helpful to having a good population and a nice economy, a nice country. All right? So think about that. What are some services that you guys get? What are some goods and services that you guys have at home? What are some things that you guys need to do? All right? So make sure that you guys are kind of thinking about this and kind of working towards that. All right, so now that we've talked about that, in closing today, you guys have an exit ticket. And on that exit ticket, you'll find 4 boxes, each labeled with a role of government. I want you guys to place these words, there's 16 words, into each box on your sheet. With that, you guys will have kind of associated that. Now, some of them may fit more places. Maybe police is protecting, maybe police is a public good or service. Maybe fire department's protecting, maybe fire department's a good service, all right? Maybe gun control is a law, but also public service. It's up to you guys. You can use these multiple places, but not all 16 fit in all areas, so make sure you guys do that. I want to thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Remember that the government is somebody that maintains social and economic order, and that the government has 4 purposes. Fill this exit ticket out, and I'll see you later.